Welcome to the Cedar Falls regular City Council meeting this April 15th, 2019. I'll now call this meeting to order and ask for a roll call from Madam Clerk, please.
Miller.
Here.
DeBoer.
Here.
Cruz. Cruz. Councilmember Cruz, are you present?
You want to try them again?
We're still on.
Speaker, volume. Volume's there.
Councilmember Cruz, are you there?
I hear him faintly.
Yes.
We hear you faintly, Councilman Cruz. Is there something on your end with the phone? Lisa tried last time. That was unhooked. Does that make a difference? Councilman Cruz?
Yes.
Thank you. Continue, please.
Blanford?
Not hearing anything.
We're not talking.
We're just calling. We're just calling roll.
Perfect.
Blanford?
Here.
Dara?
Here.
Wieland?
Here.
Green?
Here.
All members present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Just a quick note for council folks and for anyone using the microphone, if we could keep it real close, I think that would help as far as the transmission with the telephone line. Appreciate that. Item number 1, is there a motion to approve the regular meeting of April 1st?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I have a few proclamations and some shout-outs to give this evening. Very glad to do so. The first one is Stand Up Against Racism. It reads in part, whereas the City of Cedar Falls proudly supports the YWCA Black Hawk County in celebration of Stand Against Racism, and whereas Stand Against Racism is now a signature campaign of YWCA USA to build community among those who work for racial justice and to raise awareness about the negative impact of institutional and structural racism in our communities. This campaign is one part of a larger national strategy to fulfill their mission of eliminating racism. And whereas founded in 2007, Stand Against Racism quickly grew to have a national presence by 2010. In 2015, 152 YWCAs, along with 650 community organizations across 44 states, joined in the Stand Against Racism. And whereas we salute YWCA in its praiseworthy mission to eliminate racism, empower women, stand up for social justice, help families, and strengthen communities. And now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Jim Brown, Mayor of the City of Cedar Falls, do hereby proclaim April 25th through the 28th, 2019, as YWCA Stand Against Racism Weekend, signed this 15th day of April, 2019. I didn't know, is Lucinda Moore here to say a few? Oh, sure, come on up, please. Yes, sorry about that. Make sure it's right there for us. Yep.
Nope, I did not break that. On behalf of the YWCA, I want to thank you for the proclamation. I also want to thank the City of Cedar Falls for their support during our Stand Against Racism. This year, our project is yard signs, where the sign says, no matter where you are from, we're glad you're our neighbor. And it's in 4 different languages, and we're actually selling them for $5. But this one we would like to present to the mayor to hopefully put out front of the City Hall.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Hillary.
Oh, and this is Hillary Oberly.
Yes. Yes.
She's the president of our board of directors.
Thank you. Very familiar with Hillary. Thank you. Thanks, Chase. The next proclamation is for Administrative Professionals Week. It reads in part, whereas administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating the office operations of businesses, government, educational institutions, and other organizations, and whereas the work of administrative professionals today requires advanced knowledge and expertise in many vital office management responsibilities, and whereas Administrative Professionals Week is observed annually in workplaces around the world to recognize the important contributions of administrative support staff, and whereas the City of Cedar Falls recognizes the diverse work and talents of the various administrative support staff in all departments in the city, and whereas many of the projects and the critical services that the city provides would not be possible without the support of the administrative staff, and whereas these administrative support staff may have differing titles, They all serve an important role in the City of Cedar Falls organization. Now therefore, I, Mayor of the City of Cedar Falls, do hereby proclaim April 21st to the 27th as Administrative Professionals Week, and specifically April 24th as Administrative Professionals Day in Cedar Falls, and hereby urge all businesses and organizations in Cedar Falls to recognize the importance of their administrative staff in their respective business operations, signed this 15th day of April 2019. Thanks on behalf of myself and all of council and staff to our staff administratively supporting us. The next proclamation is for the Bike Month. It reads, whereas the mission of the Cedar Falls Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee is to improve the quality of life through increased opportunity for safe walking and bicycling as a means of transportation and physical activity. And whereas bicycling means business, with cycling adding $133 billion to the national economy and over $2 million to our local economy in Cedar Falls. And whereas walkability and bikeability have the capability to raise home values 5 to 13% in cities where under 40 populations can choose such neighborhoods for living and working. And whereas Cedar Falls has been designated a bike-friendly community, is a complete streets community, and has adopted the Cedar Falls Bicycle Plan. Now therefore, I, Jim Brown, Mayor of the City of Cedar Falls, do hereby proclaim May 9, 2019 as Bike Month. That includes May 8th as Bike to School Day, May 13th through 17th as Bike to Work Week, May 15th as Ride of Silence, and May 17th as Bike to Work Day in Cedar Falls, and encourage our citizens to recognize the importance of bicycle safety and to participate in bicycling activities and organizations for recreation, transportation, fitness, and health during the month of May, as well as throughout the year. Signed again this 15th day of April, 2019. I believe I was told Luann Almayo is here. Oh, okay, it was Andrew. That's who I had down. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Andrew Schroll. I'm a member of the Cedar Falls Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. I just have a few comments to add to the Bike Month proclamation. National Bike Month is sponsored by the League of American Bicyclists and was established in 1956. Locally, Cedar Falls also has a history of supporting bicycling and trail recreation. Years of development have led to a status where appreciation for our trail resources is a frequent point of conversation in town, and the trail system is one of the defining characteristics people use to describe the Cedar Valley. As we look then to the context of Bike Month and Bike to Work Week, we can appreciate the importance of also applying more targeted transportation resources to the neighborhoods in which we live, work, go to school, and shop. It's not just large metropolitan cities experiencing demand for cycling and pedestrian transportation capability. It's shown in the growth we've already experienced in our community. Several nonprofit organizations in the area play important roles in sustaining the safe enjoyment of bicycling for transportation. On the part of local government, continuing a mindset of complete streets and city planning will help sustain healthy community growth in the years and decades to come. I appreciate the council's efforts in this area.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Moving on to the next item, it's more of a shout out. You may have noticed a group of rocket scientists sitting here in the front of City Council chambers. I assure you, if Denny can show it, we're not talking about fireworks over there either. It's just a shout out to the Rocket Club. And I want to just give a brief background here. 3 years ago, the Cedar Falls High School Rocket Club, a club that is only 5 years old, placed 5th out of more than 800 teams in the world's largest high school rocketry competition. Among many other criteria and constraints that had to be met during this competition, the students had flown two raw eggs 825 feet, and safely returned them to the ground without so much as a scratch on the egg. This year, the students provided their worthiness, and NASA gladly invited them to bring their rocket and payload to Huntsville, Alabama to launch it with other teams a couple weeks ago. The team brought home both the Best Rocket Fair Display and Judges' Choice Awards for the second year in a row. None of the team's success would have been possible if it weren't for the generously supportive community that they live in. The team must raise $10,000 every year. All this is done on top of each student's daily classroom homework, part-time jobs, and other obligations. These students should be very proud of the reputation they have built over the past few years that makes Cedar Falls High School the gold standard in NASA-led high school projects. The team thanks every one of their supporters and looks forward to conquering their next challenge. Now, with us here tonight, there's a couple of adult mentors and a couple of team members. I'm just going to read them off and have them all stand as I read you off and kind of give a big wave to the camera. The adult mentors is Zeb Nicholson and Tyler Sorensen. The students are Andre Bryan, Austin Cross, Randev Gunasakra, Taylor Hansen, Nathan Hoffman, Sid Kalala, Duncan Meyer, Andrew Mord, Benson Redfern, Calvin Timmer, TJ Tomljanovich, Eric Walther, Marika Yang, and Frank Zhang. Congratulations to you all. Well done. Lastly, you might notice here, briefly, I invited some tall group of students to the chambers this evening. I invited the 2019 Iowa State High School basketball champions, the Cedar Falls Tigers. If you all would come forward just for a quick recognition, I'd sure appreciate that. Now, I don't have the specific names of the gentlemen that are here, but I will read through a couple of highlights. Senior captains Jack Campbell, Jackson Fredericks, and Logan Wolf. I will wait so these young men can raise their hands.
They are tall.
Okay, I will start over. Gentlemen can step forward or raise your hand. Senior captains this year is Jack Campbell, Jackson Fredericks, and Logan Wolf. First team All-State was Logan Wolf. All-tournament team Jack Campbell and Logan Wolf. All-conference and all-metros Jack Campbell, Jackson Fredericks, Josh Olendike, and Logan Wolf. A team fact here that this team tied for the most wins in school history, 21, with last year's title team, with 2 less games that were canceled due to weather. I took a straw poll, and we're going to give those 2 to you guys, if that counts. Congratulations to you all. Coaches, Coach Schultz, thank you very much. Appreciate you gentlemen coming in. Thanks again, Ryan. Thank you. Appreciate it. Moving back to the agenda, are there any agenda revisions, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, number 8 on the consent calendar will be received and filed only. And then number 16 on the resolution calendar is being removed by staff.
Thank you very much. Next item is item 2 under special order of business is a public hearing on a proposed agreement for private development and conveyance of certain city-owned real estate to Zeidberg LLC. Is there a motion to receive and file proof of publication?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. Any written communications filed with the city clerk?
I have no written communications on file, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Before we move to oral comments, I think Shane Graham is here to say a few words in this public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. What we have before council tonight is an agreement for private development with Zeidberg NA LLC. Zeidberg is actually located out in the industrial park right now at 3105 Capitol Way. They're leasing an existing 10,000 square foot building space right now. They've indicated a willingness to expand. They would like to build a 30,000 square foot building which they would own on lots 21 and 22 of the West Viking Road Industrial Park. The lot's about 3.5 acres in size, so it would fit with the city's policy for the land development criteria with the business. This company moved here in 2014 from the Netherlands, so Cedar Falls was really lucky to have them come here in 2014. And again, the city's really excited that they're willing to expand their size and their business here in Cedar Falls as well. So what we would ask the council tonight would be to approve the development agreement, which would allow them to, they would like to get started on the project within the next couple months and hopefully have that building occupied by next year. So we would ask council to approve the development agreement tonight.
Thank you, Shane.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, can we wait till?
Yeah, thank you. I think we're all settled, and I will open it up now for oral comments to this public hearing. Yes, sir, come on out. Chief, would you go make sure the folks, we can maybe close one of those doors or just keep folks quiet, or open up the overflow room if need be, or let them know there's chairs up here. Thanks. Go ahead, Mr. Speaker.
Cedar Falls. We get a lot of these, and then we have a public hearing, and no matter what happens at the public hearing, the next item is to approve what has been talked about in a hearing. And it seems to me that if it's a hearing, there should be opportunity between the time that the hearing happens and the council action. I mean, I know that I've been told that everything's in the book. That book comes out Friday afternoon. You know how long that book is? 463 pages. And there's just no way that any of you can really digest everything in that book. Now, the reason I am asking now is because that may be in the book, may not be, is how much is this going to cost? In other words, how much land are we conveying and at what cost? And what is the overall benefit to the company that they get this new place and will be expanding? Because as I understand it, all of the infrastructure is built by the city. They don't have any cost for infrastructure. And I'm not even sure, how much subsidy, whether it outweighs the advantage to the city. And the reason I'm asking these is I'm not saying, don't do it, but how can we have a deliberative body when there is no deliberation? I know some of you remember when there would be rather extensive debate on issues. Now we have what I call rush through, because I still am trying to figure out why the city attorney was in such a rush to approve that codification, because evidently there's something in there that was important to someone, because I saw no reason to rush. And so when we talk about this, when we talk about this public hearing about a land giveaway, or is it a giveaway? We don't know. And then as soon as this hearing closes, as soon as Skane sits down, we're going to have a vote. And it will be a 7-0 vote, because most votes are 7-0, because people don't know what they're voting on, I think. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Anyone further for public comment, this public hearing?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lisa Skubel with Grow Cedar Valley. And 5 years ago, Zeidberg in the Netherlands decided to locate in the Cedar Valley, and they chose to make Cedar Falls their home. After 5 years, it really is amazing to see that they are planning to triple the amount of square footage and continue to expand in Cedar Falls Industrial Park. So I wanted to thank you for helping them make this expansion happen and your fiscal responsibility to make the industrial park continue to grow and become a win-win amongst the citizens of the city of Cedar Falls, but also the businesses that locate here. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Anyone further for public comment? Hearing and seeing none, I'll declare the, go ahead, sure, yes, sir. Just your name and address, please.
Ryan Holden, I'm president of Zeidberg North America. I live in 322 Tumbleweed Trail in Waverly, Iowa. So Mayor, Brown, Council, Shane, thank you all for the opportunity to be here tonight. On behalf of the 6 current employees at Zeidberg North America that has grown from 3 over the past 5 years to having an expansion of up to 15 here in the next 3 or 4 years, we can't make that happen without partners like you. And so we appreciate your commitment to us and likewise our reciprocal commitment to this community. There is no better place in the world as far as I'm concerned, not only to raise a family, but also to do something we love in business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyone further for public comment? Hearing and seeing none, I'll declare the hearing closed. Before I move on to item 3, Chief, will you let those folks know there is seats up in here? Just I saw a couple potential stakeholders. Okay, thank you very much. Item 3 is a resolution approving and authorizing execution of an agreement for private development with Zeidberg. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Open it up for council. Any discussion? Questions? Yes, Mr. Burr.
In lieu, and if that was a question from Mr. Skane, it is at 3.54 acres for a 30,000 square foot building with an assessed value of just under 2.8 million.
Thank you. Anyone further? Requires a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Cruz.
Mr. Cruz?
Voting yes.
I'm voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4 is passed ordinance 2938, amending the Code of Ordinances by removing property located at the southeast corner of West 12th Street and Union Road from A1 to RP upon its third and final consideration. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion from council? Requires a roll call vote, please.
Voting aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5 is passed ordinance 2939, amending Chapter 26 of the Code of Ordinances relative to the College Hill Neighborhood District upon its second consideration. Is there a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Motion, I think I heard a second. Open it for council questions. Questions or
Can I speak
comments
to
from
this?
council? Pardon me?
Can I make a motion at this point?
You sure can.
The language that's included in this that states for mixed-use buildings constructed prior to January 1st, 2019, parking is not required for existing dwelling units. I have a concern on this that it will remove parking requirements that were mandated by previous council in a development agreement. So I'd like to motion to remove that language.
Been a motion by Councilman Cruz to remove the language as he described. Is there a second to that motion
Second.
to amend?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Mr. Green. Open it up for council comment. Mr. Burr?
I believe that's under section 5, was it A6? Does that in fact remove any parking requirement?
Staff?
No, this language in the proposed amendment does not change the parking requirements. The particular language quoted does not change the parking requirements that are in place right now, as interpreted by the city.
But the rest of this ordinance actually does place more restrictions than we currently have. Is that correct?
For new buildings,
For
there'll
new
be
buildings.
additional parking requirements for certain types of buildings in the overlay, yes.
That cut out a little bit there.
Which part? The response?
Mr. Rogers' response there, whether or not it does indeed take away previous mandated parking.
Mr. Rogers, if you don't mind repeating, just
It does not change the parking requirements that are currently in place as interpreted by the city.
anything further from
Mr.
council?
Mayor, just for extra clarification on that, where it says that it doesn't change the mandated parking now, would that still mean that since there's as I understand it, in the agreement, the development agreement for urban flats, they agreed to have UNI parking passes for some of their tenants. And if this passes, does that then negate the requirement that they have the UNI passes? Is it saying in your language that there's no parking requirements at all when we approve this?
I would like to answer that and first clarify that the development agreement with the urban flats development does not speak to parking. The development agreement is specific to the financial incentives related to the urban renewal area and TIF incentives that were provided. So the development agreement would not be anything that gets negated because it does not speak to the parking. I happen to have a copy of the staff report related to the urban flats property, and in that staff report that was provided back when that was went through the process, which was April of 2016, the section that speaks to parking starts off by saying parking is not required for properties in the C3 district with commercial as the principal use. Also, on-site parking is not required for secondary accessory residential uses. Even though parking is not required, the applicant has indicated that they have an agreement with the University of Northern Iowa, and that's when it goes on in the staff report and over the course of the approval. One of the stipulations of the site plan was to have something in each of the leases related to having a parking pass, and that was confirmed when this has come up before. We've checked that the lease includes that, and we have that, a copy of that provision if you would like it.
So I'll jump in and answer your question. So this proposed language would not change that site plan, those agreements that were set forth in the site plan.
Anything further from council on the second reading? Mr. Burr?
Could the staff just explain why this exception was written into the ordinance?
It was to keep it the status quo because there was a concern expressed by the property owners and the College Hill Partnership at the Planning and Zoning Commission that existing buildings that had upper floor apartments would all of a sudden become non-conforming, and that might have implications for their future use or changing things in those apartments going forward. And because the parking requirement was 0 previously, they were concerned by adding these additional parking requirements that all of a sudden they would be non-compliant.
So this wording was used instead of simply using the word grandfathering?
Well, I think there's a certain implication with grandfathering that you only have certain rights when a use is grandfathered, and so there's always concerns when you're called non-conforming, rather than this language would make them conforming and keep it the existing status quo.
Anything further on council towards this amendment or a motion to amend towards the language removed from Councilman Cruz? Anything further? All in favor of that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
That amendment does fail. I will now move back to the original ordinance to pass 2939 to the College Hill neighborhood upon its second consideration. It is motion and second. I'll open that up again for discussion with council. Mr. Green?
Mr. Mayor, I still have my original concerns that I've brought up in the last 2 times we've spoken about this. We're going to have the parking study, it sounds like April 7th or April 27th. We're going to have the preliminary findings of it. This, as I understand it, this would really dovetail out to be approved, offering that limited window to one developer to be able to run projects a certain way. And then after the parking study, we may change that. And it's been brought up that this is an interim ordinance. Council members have used that language, and I just don't feel that we should have an interim ordinance. We should wait until we have the results of the parking study and then make that decision. I've also spoken with the College Hill Partnership about this and clarified it to express my concerns and still hold them.
Very good. Anything further from council on the second consideration? There's been motion. Second does require a roll call vote, please. Mr. Cruz?
Voting no.
5 voting aye, 2 voting nay, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to the consent calendar, the following items will be acted upon by a voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion, unless someone from the council or the public requests an item to be pulled for such discussion. Any such requests from council? From the public? Yes, sir.
7, 8, 10.
Items 7, 8, and 10. I'll review the items less those 3 that have been pulled. Item 6 is approve the following recommendations of the mayor relative to the appointment of members to boards and commissions. Mary Jane McCollum and Bruce Wingert for the Board of Rental Housing Appeals. Thanks for your continued service to the city. Item 9 is receive and file communication from the Civil Service Commission relative to a certified list for the position of Public Safety Officer. Item 11 is approve the following special event requests. I'll read through each one of these so folks might be able to mark their calendars. A street closure for the Shamrock Shuffle, April 29th. Street closures for the UNI Triathlon, April 28th. A parking variance for Washington Street for the annual Friends of Mercy 1 Cedar Falls May Breakfast on May 14th. Street closures for the Iowa Shrine Bowl Parade, July 20th. Street closures for the College Hill Farmers Market, June 6th, July 11th, August 1st, September, and October 2019. And item 12 is approving of applications for permits and licenses. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar, please?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 7 reads, receive and file the Committee of the Whole minutes of April 1st relative to the following items, sustainability and bills and payroll. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion second. Anything further from council? From the public?
My concern is that, there's no provision. Yeah, as the city attorney said, Committee of the Whole is legalized in Iowa, but the point is, the Committee of the Whole is a total function of Robert's Rules of Order.
Mr. Skane, I'm going to stop you here because last time...
You can't stop me.
It was a point of order that this item on the agenda now is to approve the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting April 1st. If you have an objection to those very minutes, it's germane. But if you do not, it's not germane.
You're approving an illegal act of the council.
You're going to need to stay germane to this, so I'm going to have you sit down.
Now, that's another thing, the word germane. This talks about germane, and it only talks about germane as applying to amendments to main motions.
With council's approval, I'm going to ask the speaker to please sit down, and we'll try it again next time, please. Thank you very much. Anything further from council or from the staff? Mr. Skeen, I call you out of order. Thank you. Please sit down.
Because you are ill-informed.
Please sit down.
Point of order here.
Yes, sir.
Point of order, Mr.
I don't appreciate your tone, Mr. Skane.
Mr. Skeen, have a seat,
You have
please.
to keep organization in this meeting, in this chamber.
Pardon?
Mr. Skeen, please have a seat.
I was going to, but Mr. Miller...
There was not a question, it was a statement by a council person. Anyone further for pulling it? Anyone further commenting on this particular item? Been motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 8 reads, receive and file the City Council work session minutes of April 1st. Is there a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion from council? Mr. Skane.
This is the first time, Jim Skane, 2215 Clay Street, Cedar Falls. This is the first time this item has appeared on the agenda. And according to the open meetings law, the activity of the work session is not permitted. Because, first of all, it was not really open to the public. And
Mr. Skeen, I'm going to stop you again. This meeting, in fact, was open to the public for downtown priorities in a session. It was actually properly given notice through the Courier and through other media outlets, as well as something given to the folks before they arrived. It is indeed in order. I'm going to have you sit down again, please. Mr. Skane, I'm going to have you please sit down. Yes, you will sit down. Mr. Skane, I'm calling you out of order. I am calling you out of order. You need to sit down. Please have a seat. Mr. Skane. Danny, I need to go to what do we call it when we take a break?
Recess.
Recess, please. Circumstances where I strictly try to keep order and level of decorum. I'm now going to ask Mr. Skeen to lead the proceedings for the rest of this evening. I need you to be removed, please. No. Mr. Olson, Mr. Director Olson, Chief Bostwick, I'm sorry, sir. I've tried and tried and tried. You're going to need to please be removed for this evening. You're welcome to come back next meeting as well, please. Welcome back to the meeting this April 15th, 2019. We're now back in regular session. The recess that was called is called as a timeout, in essence, towards folks here, folks watching at home. Still a complete legal meeting with courier and the different media able to come and go, as well as folks in attendance, again, able to come and go. Unfortunately, after a number of different warnings, the previous speaker was removed, and that just was best off camera. So we'll now continue with the regular meeting. And moving on to item 10. I'm sorry, so it was motion second on item number 8. Any further discussion from the public? For council, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 10 is approve a request by Winnebago Boy Scouts of America for a permit to operate a Daisy BB gun range at Pheasant Ridge Golf Course on May 23rd, 2019. Is there a motion, please?
So move.
Motion second. For any further comments or questions from council?
Mayor, since it was taken off the agenda, there is a representative here from the Boy Scouts if she would like to say anything about the event, advertise it or anything.
Oh, you put it that way. Welcome. Just your name and address, please. And
hi, Whitney Jensen, 510 College Street. Can you pull the mic down?
The mic.
Thank you.
Whitney Jensen, 510 College Street.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity for a couple minutes. The Winnebago Council of Boy Scouts of America is having our annual golf tournament on Thursday, May 23rd at Pheasant Ridge Golf Course. I'm asking permission to put a BB gun range on the course the day of as a fundraiser. I know Mayor usually comes out for it, so be looking forward to fun if you guys decide to pass it. This I included, I hope you all saw the DAISY literature that came with it that says that it is completely enclosed range. There's mesh and fabric to protect it. We've already done a test run out at our camp. It went very well. There were no loose BBs. So there's that. We will have 2 certified NRA range safety officers, and one of them is certified as a range safety officer as well. So if you need certification in order to take a look at that, I can absolutely get that for you and shoot you guys an email with that. This tournament helps us serve 3,200 youth throughout 17 counties in Northeast Iowa. So we're looking to have a significant impact with this fundraiser tournament, and I hope you'll accept. Again, the date for that, if you guys are all into golf, please mark your calendars for Thursday, May 23rd at Pheasant Ridge. Thank you.
Thank you, Whitney. Anyone further to council? Been motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is the resolution calendar. These items will be acted upon by a roll call vote on a single motion without separate discussion, unless someone from the council requests an item to be polled for such discussion, or the public as well. Any such requests from the council?
Item 13, Mr. Mayor.
13. Anyone further from council? From the public?
13.
Just item 13 being pulled, I will now overview the resolution calendar minus that item. Item 14 is approving and authorizing execution of a lease relative to property vacated by the flood buyout programs. 15 is approving and authorizing execution for a paving marking services contract. Item 16 again has been removed. Item 17 is approving and authorizing execution for purchase agreements, drainage easements, and construction easements. 18 is approving and authorizing execution of 2 purchase agreements in conjunction with the Ridgeway Avenue reconstruction project. 19 is receiving and filing the bids and approving and accepting the low bid for the 2019 permeable alley project. 20 is approving and authorizing execution of a developmental procedures agreement relative to storm sewer oversizing. 21 is approving and authorizing execution of a professional service agreement relative to the Cedar Heights Drive reconstruction project. 22 is approving and accepting a lien notice and special promissory note for the conversion incentive program. 23 is approving and authorizing submission of a certified local government National Register nomination of the Cedar Falls Wild Historic District as recommended by the Historic Preservation Commission. 24 and 25 is approving a College Hill Neighborhood Overlay Zoning District site plan for facade improvements on the hill. 26 is approving a Central Business District Overlay Zoning District site plan for a mixed-use redevelopment downtown as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission. 27 is approving and authorizing execution of a service agreement with Farmers State Bank. 28 is approving and authorizing reimbursements and cancellation of 1 assessment with the 2019 street construction project. 29 is approving and adopting small cell design guidelines for the city of Cedar Falls. And 30 is approving and adopting a small wireless facility fee schedule. 31 is setting May 6th as a date of public hearing on the 100 Block Alley reconstruction project. 32 is setting May 6th as a date of public hearing for the Walnut Street Box Culvert replacement and University Branch of Dry Run Creek project. 33 is setting May 6th the date of public hearing on the Ridgeway Avenue reconstruction project. And 34 is resolution setting May 6th the date of public hearing on amendments to the city's FY19 budget. Is there a motion to approve the resolution minus item 13?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion from council? This requires a roll call vote, please.
Voting aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving back to item 13, it reads a resolution approving and authorizing execution of a phone system agreement relative to the new phone system. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. Open it up for discussion. Mr. Green?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a comment on this item. The resolution would pay Marco, St. Paul vendor, $141.5K over 5 years to install and maintain a new phone system to replace an obsolete system. The second bid, the losing bid, was from Cedar Falls-based Advanced Systems. It was only 3.1% higher, so $146K, with comparable quality scores from staff. We have a policy in place to prefer local vendors when the price is equal, but I believe it should be allowable within 4 to 5% window. My view is, why wouldn't we want to keep as much taxpayer money in the local economy as possible? So I just wanted to put that comment that I believe it's worth a larger discussion in committee of the whole to establish a policy for some percentage where we would grant that, because it's the second time this year that it's come up where it's so incredibly close.
Thank you. Any further comments from council? From staff, would you mind overviewing that particular agreement? Comments from Mr. Green? I think Jennifer?
Sure. I can start. If there's technical things, Julie will be the expert, not me.
Oh.
But no, so yes, we did go through an RFP process. As Rob mentioned, there was scoring. We actually went and tried out the products and the equipment and all that. And so actually Marco was the lowest bid, just like you mentioned, Rob. We actually liked their products as well too. So that's why they were chosen, because they were the products we liked and they were the lowest bid. And Julie noted in her memo, Rob's absolutely right, our policy right now says if they're equal, then the local gets preference. And so in this case, of course, they weren't exactly equal. So we did not do that. So.
Very good. Anything further from council? Been motion second. It requires a roll call vote, please.
Voting aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to item 35, is there a motion to allow bills and payroll?
So moved.
Motion second. Requires a roll call vote, please.
Voting aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next item, any council referrals this evening?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I've received a request from a constituent, and I think most other council members have talked with this individual as well, requesting that we consider at least looking at, if not amending, I think it's section 1947E of our Code of Ordinances related to the real issue for this gentleman are monument mailboxes. My preference is not to divert our staff's time from our established goals, but it would be my understanding, looking at this particular ordinance, that it would be some real minimal change in verbiage, perhaps. So I'd like to move that we that we send a meeting with the staff, with the council, the discussion of that ordinance, and perhaps ask staff to come up with some different verbiage. So I'm referring it to a committee of the whole to have that discussion.
There's been a motion to refer the monument mailboxes to committee of the whole. Is there a second?
Second.
Been motion second. Any further discussion from council?
Mr. Mayor, just as a general question, is it possible to find out tonight why this exists, or is it a lot of information that needs to wait for a meeting?
I don't know if we can.
Well, I had provided an email to the council members who had asked about it. I can't quote it, but part of the reasons for it, and City Administrator Gaines probably has more firsthand knowledge, but it was related to safety issues in the right-of-way, that, if a vehicle were to inadvertently hit it, it's not a breakaway like many items in the right-of-way are. It was also the expense to city projects in having to replace those if we're working in the right-of-way and having to remove that to do our work, which would be the case in a reconstruction project and maybe even in a restoration project. And I believe the discussion back in 2008 may have had one or two other reasons as well as to the staff recommendation to not allow replacement or new monument mailboxes.
Any further discussion or questions from council? Been motion second for the referral. Is all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
Nay.
That motion does carry to go to referral. Anything else from council on referrals? Any council updates this evening? I do have a brief update. City Hall is closed this Friday, as it's Good Friday, and it's recognized as such, so we are closed this Friday at City Hall. Director Olson, I believe you have a quick update as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to update the council on the replacement of the cameras on the College Hill and downtown. As you know, we've been discussing that. for several months, putting some plans together. Our current cameras are quite a bit older. The technology has changed significantly. We've had a few incidents occur where we've wanted to find better ways for apprehension as well as prevention. And so with council's approval, we're moving forward on that project for downtown and College Hill. We've met with the merchants there and had quite a bit of planning and meeting with them to decide best locations for camera lighting. The cameras for the College Hill area have arrived, and so the company will be installing them within the next couple of weeks. We still have a few locations we have to run fiber to and increase some lighting in the area. For the most part, though, the majority of the cameras will begin being replaced in the College Hill area within a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. And staff, Stephanie, something on the downtown visioning?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a brief update. We had a downtown visioning public kickoff meeting on April 2nd. We had approximately 70 people attend that meeting, so we felt that we had very good attendance. And during the time that the consultant was here, they also met with a variety of stakeholder groups. We arranged an architect group, a realtor group, met with the Community Main Street Board, talked with several downtown business groups, restaurant and bars, also retail group. So did a lot of background work with the consultant. If folks were interested in participating in some of the events that happened with the public meeting, but they weren't able to make it to the meeting, those are also available online at www.ourcedarfalls.com. We had some visual preference surveys and pluses and minuses about the downtown, strengths and weaknesses that we were looking for feedback on, and people can do that online now. And the consultant will be back May 31st for a week-long charrette, and we'll have a lot of public engagement events during that time.
Thank you very much. And Jennifer, on the...
Yeah, College Hill. Just want to get an update or remind people that we're having our first public meeting related to the College Hill parking study on April 23rd, Tuesday night from 6 to 8. It's going to be at the UNI Center for Energy Environmental, or CEEE. So if you're interested in that, you're more than welcome to come to that. What the consultant will be doing at that meeting is just going through the survey results, which I'll put a little plug in for that too. The survey is still out there, so if you've not taken the survey yet related to College Hill, you can still do that this week. But he'll be going through, what were the preliminary things that came out of that survey, what have they been doing so far in terms of counts and inventory. So for those of you that might have attended the downtown one, again, that's not when recommendations are coming, it's just the preliminary, talk about results, talk about what's been going on so far. So we invite you to attend.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, staff. Moving on, the next item is item 36, to move to executive session to discuss property acquisition per Iowa Code Section 21.51J to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate following public forum. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. This requires a roll call vote, please.
I'm voting aye.
All voting aye, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next item is public forum. Speakers will have up to one opportunity to speak for up to 5 minutes on topics germane to city business. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak tonight? Spot?
Good evening. My name is Penny Pop. I live at 4805 South Main, and it seems like spring is here and we have a bunch of things to do all of a sudden at the end of April and May. But on Saturday, April 27th, the spring snapshot of our Dry Run Creek watershed will take place. Now, the Snapshot project is a partnership with the Black Hawk Soil and Water Conservation District and the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to gather water quality data on the Dry Run Creek watershed here in Cedar Falls. Now, this is a great opportunity for folks to learn a wee bit about our watershed and participate in our community's well-being for today, tomorrow, and beyond. So anyone can participate, so grab a friend or your family and meet us at the Cedar Falls Tourism and Visitors Bureau on Hudson at 9 a.m. on Saturday, April 27th. It is a rain or shine event. A short training session will take place and groups will be sent off to gather water samples and data, and no prior experience is needed. Data gathered from these events provide information to more accurately treat sources of pollutants and to work towards a measurable impact on improving the quality of water in Cedar Falls. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Pop. Anyone further for public comment this evening? Yes, Mr. Cyrus.
Dr. Cyrus, 1939 College Street. You probably won't see much more of me, I hope. You've seen me a lot. But I've gained an appreciation for everything that the City Council does, and I must say that it's a very complicated. I wouldn't want to do it, basically. and I don't know how you do it. The detail is extreme, and you're forced to make decisions sometimes with less than the level of information you would like. But I wanted to thank you all for listening to me and being nice about the process. I would like to say that I think that you've made a good decision going forward with respect to residential properties of having the parking be on site. If it gets to be off at a distance, then all of a sudden nobody really knows what's going on with it. An example is, what I think of as maybe a failed experiment with Urban Flats, where they tried to park at UNI, and I don't think anybody here really even knows if UNI allows parking overnight for off-campus residents. So it becomes an obscure struggle to know exactly what's going on. And so when you have it on site, I think you're going to be better off. I also would like to make one other small comment, and that is there's some idea present that possibly the University of Northern Iowa is going to come in and solve some of the parking problems in the College Hill area. And I suspect that shouldn't be viewed as a viable alternative in the sense that the University of Northern Iowa is not of the city of Cedar Falls. I mean, they're controlled by the state legislature, who may make any rule they like, and in the future it's possible that the university, even though they might try to help out, might not be able to live up to long-term commitments. So I want to thank you. I appreciate everything that you've listened to me for, and I wish you very well in what is a very difficult job. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sayers. Thank you. Anyone further from the public comment this evening?
Yeah.
Mr. Whelan?
Yeah, I would like just to make a very quick comment. I've had quite a long discussion on how we buy things in Cedar Falls. Every once in a while, we'll get a project where we're purchasing a product, and our city buys based on a concept called lifetime cost. So it doesn't matter what the price is, we build into it what's the lifetime cost of that product. Some people had a hard time understanding that. I used to think of it as cost versus price. Price is what you pay initially, cost is what it costs you over the life of the product. And so sometimes you'll see us approving a project where there's a significant difference in price, and we choose the higher priced product because the overall cost is less. That takes more work, but most purchasing departments have found out that's the best way to get your products that you use in the city. If you don't, you always have a supplier coming in at a low bid to get the door open. So I just wanted to explain that two different ways for people who have a hard time understanding cost and price. They're two different animals. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Whelan. Open up any more public comment this evening? Hearing and seeing none, we'll now adjourn to executive session. Thank you.